Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today is the update to the Lazy Tank, the ever popular Templar tank for the High Isle chapter. This is incredibly simple. Any tank that you've ever played to date may have been nice, but this is the easiest thing you will ever play. You hit one button, you taunt the whole room and control it all. Templars had an issue for the longest time that they couldn't immobilize targets, because if you use a chain or a pull ability, that would create a stun cooldown. Then if you tried to stun them in area of effect, like most people do, a pin or a stun, then you couldn't do it because they're on cooldown and it's the same cooldown. That issue is alleviated with this build completely. You have full control to pull, taunt, and pin. Anyway, we'll get more into that when we get into the skills and the gear. This has been slightly adapted for this particular update, so stay tuned if you've seen this before, because there are some changes. Now, we're going to go into the stats first of all to make it very, very simple. By the way, just a disclaimer, this is capable of all content. Before that naysayer in the back goes, this is no good for trials. You're wrong. This is great for everything. And if you watch the live streams, you would have seen it. Now, potion, obviously. That needs to be running. We're on 12.7k max magicka, 49.4k max health, and 19.8k max stamina. That is more than enough for absolutely everything because our recovery from our magicka is enough for us to use our utility skills, 2.2k. And our stamina recovery is 1.2k, which is great when our shield is down. Not when we're blocking, because you don't recover while blocking. But if we're not blocking, we do recover. Not to mention, of course, this resistance buff here, which we'll get to later, does give us constant replenishment of our stamina, even if you are blocking, so that's really handy. Spell damage is almost 3k, which is hit and miss. That would actually go higher with our own skills, passive bonuses, etc., etc. And in combat, obviously, it will go much higher as well. That doesn't necessarily benefit our damage output, because we're not really focused on that, although we do have some. But that will boost our heals. Now, the resistance bonus that you can see there, which did fall off, that is sitting on 28k, as you can see at the moment. But that will, in fact, go up. So if we swap to this, we're on 30.9k. 30.9k resistances throughout is very, very helpful. And, of course, in content, we will actually push that even further. That will give us 34k. As long as we're in content and we're actually in combat, we will maintain that at all times. We are using max health, max stamina food with all points into health. You can go into stamina more if you prefer, but that is going to lessen your effectiveness of health-based skills, i.e. your heals. Also bear in mind, you do not need to put points into magicka. We are not using magicka as a pool of strength. We are using it as a pool for utility. Our recovery allows us to use things more often, so we don't need a big bar. We just need high recovery, which we have. The ability to spam, not the ability to strengthen. And our strength from our heals and skills and all that kind of stuff from spell damage and max resources actually comes from our stamina and our weapon and spell damage. We don't need to push this because it won't outplay this, so it's just going to be a negative impact on the overall build. Keep the magicka low, keep the recovery high, keep the health high, your stamina should be fine. Again, we've got so much recovery when it comes to stamina, not just base recovery, but also our repentance, which you'll know more about later, and of course our rune, which constantly gives us stamina back. We're using the Atronach Mundus Stone to help focus more on our mag recovery, and that's about it for that. So, skills. This is the stuff you need to understand before you look at the gear. I know people love to go to what I like to call the all the gear and no idea section and assume they're an expert about the build. No. Everything will be explained here, and then when you get to the gear, it will all start making more sense. So if you want to skip this, you can. It's at your own risk, though. If not, stand by. Here it comes. So first off is Live in Dark. This is a Dawn Wrath skill line. 4th ability unlock starts off as Eclipse, morph it to Live in Dark. This made lots of complaints from people that didn't quite understand what the fuck was going on. But basically, this skill, in my opinion, was buffed. Yes, the heal per tick was reduced, but the duration was extended, which means you can now maintain it so much easier. Before, you would use this every 6 seconds to maintain it. Now you use it every 12 and the cost is the same. Our recovery makes up for the cost, and we don't have to spam it. Anyway, strictly speaking, this is a very powerful skill. It lasts 12 seconds. Activate it. Any direct damage that you take will heal you every half a second. So you get hit, you get healed. That's it. You want to get hit, you're a tank. You will get hit, you're a tank. Also, standing inside your rune focus, and of course your extended ritual, plus other passives and bonuses that we're going to go into later. Our heal over time for ourselves is nuts. This skill should not be taken off the build at all. I know we used Radiant Ward in the past, and it's still a very nice skill, but this is very, very strong. I wouldn't recommend leaving home without it. And again, this has doubled in efficiency since the last update, because now we only have to cast it once every 12 seconds instead of twice, which means your magical pool is now maintained so much easier to allow you to do other things. Repentance is up next. This is in the Restore and Light skill line. This is, of course, the third ability to unlock. Starts off as Restoring Aura, morph it to Repentance. This is really, really simple. While being on the bar, you get minor Fortitude, minor Endurance, and minor Intellect, increasing all of your mag, health, and stamina recovery by 15% permanently on this bar. Just bear in mind, of course, if you're using tripot potions, or tripots, whatever you want to call them, which we are, that will give you major Fortitude, Endurance, and Intellect. Major and minor of the same buff stack. So we've got a 15% bonus here for all three, a 30% bonus from the potion. So that is actually very, very effective. If you don't understand how that works, tripods and crafted pots are the same. There's your bonus. Absolutely nuts. So that is very, very effective for us overall for our active recovery bonuses. But at the same time, of course, if you see a dead body on the ground, whether it be an enemy or a player within a 12-meter radius of you, activate this for free. If you do, every single enemy or every single body up to 6 will heal your entire group that is in range and will restore 3k stamina to you for every corpse on the ground. If it's 12, press it twice. It's free. You can't run out of resources as long as people make stuff dead. And again, it heals your group and you, and yes, those heals can crit. Pierce Armor, bread and butter for a tank. We are sword and board, both bars, on purpose. Sorry if that's confusing. This is simple. First skill you unlock. If you're any player in the game is going to be anything somewhat of a decent tank, you need to understand the most basic skill in your arsenal. This here will stab the target. If you do that, it's taunted now. It will aim for you. You're done. That's your job. Everything else is great, but that's your job. Maintain this skill. It doesn't matter if you overlap it, because you will just restart the timer. But what matters is if you let it run out. Never let it run out. I know some people have tried to teach other people, oh, let it run out and then reapply it. No, that gap, the boss spins, kills the group. Don't let it ever run out. Not to mention, it applies a taunt, but it also does apply a debuff. This applies Major Breach and Minor Breach, reducing all physical and spell resistance of the target by around 9k combined. So you've got almost 3k for the Minor, almost 6k for the Major. That is going to help your group do more damage because it removes those resistances, meaning that that brick wall is now gone. The cap for resistances for enemies in PvE is generally 18,200. This strips almost half of that. So other buffs and bonus can be applied to make it even stronger. Obviously, reducing the enemy's resistance is very important overall for your group, but this is a really, really good start. Maintain this at all times on the main target or other targets if you can, but above all, you must always keep up a taunt. Now, this is actually a swap out. You may need to go ahead a little bit and understand the rest of the build before this makes sense, but if it doesn't make sense right now, come back to it. If you have a charged weapon, which is a choice, we haven't got to the gear yet, if you have a charged weapon, you can take this off, because we have taunt covered somewhere else. You can swap this for Razor Caltrops, which is in the Assault skill line, if I can bloody find it. Where have you gone? There you go. And this will actually apply Major Breach to 6 targets while doing damage over time. Each tick of damage over time is physical damage. If you have a charged weapon, you enhance your ability to apply status effects from physical. Physical status effects apply Minor Breach. While this does major, minor can still come from it in area of effect, so multiple targets at once. Much like this applies it to one target, so you can stab and stab and stab, and individual ones can be controlled, this can actually do it in area of effect. The only downside is obviously this is a taunt and this isn't, but we have that covered. Due to our setup, the next skill, this one here, is a taunt. So if you choose to, you can have this and Caltrops, always have Breach but have a chance for minor, or you can have very specific control and guarantee it on one target or a couple. The choice is yours, but this skill here is not a taunt until you have this build. So, Explosive Charge. Read this very carefully because some people have kicked off about this in the past and they were wrong because they got the wrong morph. Focus Charge. Explosive Charge does damage in 6-meter radius. And the 6-meter radius is not from you. The 6-meter radius is from the hitbox of the enemy. So that means the outside, the furthest point in which you can hit that enemy from, that's where the radius comes from. So if the boss is very, very small, you get a proper 6 meter radius, obviously because it's tiny. If you have a massive boss, that 6 meter radius is around the boss. So if you're up against things like the Stone Atronach in the Furion Archive, you can actually taunt all the ads that are close quarter to the boss, even though physically you are about 15 meters away. If the boss's ass is close to it and you hit this, it will still taunt them. It will taunt due to the set we have. This does officially apply a gap closer mechanic where you jump in. It hits all enemies in area of effect, and if any are interrupted, they will be knocked off balance. This will do an interrupt as well in area of effect. But due to the set we're using, this is an area of effect taunt. On its own, it is not. I can't make that any clearer. On its own, it is 100% not an area of effect taunt. There is no skill in the game that is a specific area of effect taunt. But because of our gear, this is. So, you can jump in and taunt everything at once, and you can use caltrops to put breach down for everything and possibly get minor at the same time per target. However, if you want more control, Pierce Armor is still a taunt, which you can overlap after this, but you will guarantee major and minor. The choice is yours. Probably easier for this for most people, but if you're in big pulls all the time, caltrops is great. Failing that, tell someone in your group to bring razor caltrops, and then you've got the minor covered in area of effect anyway. Now, time freeze is very important. This is in the Sigic order skill line. So, if we go down to here, you want time stop, morph it to time freeze. Activate this and it will put down a bubble on the ground. Enemies will be slower and slower and slower over a 4-second period until it pops, and then they will all be stunned for 3 seconds, which is really, really handy. So, the trick to this is to apply this first to get their attention. They'll run through it at you and run really, really slow, and that gives you time to jump in and aggro them all. Technically speaking, most of the time if you pull stuff, they will be stunned, which means this stun won't apply. The build is set up so that we do pull with a different ability or a different set, which doesn't apply a cooldown, so you can jump in, yoink them all in together, and then stunned. That I will demonstrate a little bit later on. At the moment, we're just going to go through the skills. Shield Discipline is important, of course. Sword and Board skill line, you do need level 50 in Sword and Board for this, but unlock it to Shield Wall, morph it to Shield Discipline. If you activate this, this is your oh shit button. Basically 8 seconds worth of free blocking. It's very cheap ultimate, extremely effective in oh shit situations where you might have to res someone or you might be out of resources. Because while this is active, it doesn't follow the normal rules of block. Normally, block will make you slower. And obviously you're holding block, so you can't do anything apart from insta-cast abilities. You cast a channeled ability, it drops the block. You do a heavy attack, it drops the block. This is different. This will give you block for free. You can still run at a full speed. In fact, you can sprint. And also you can heavy attack from underneath it. So if you do get in a situation where there's no dead bodies on the ground, your recovery's struggling, you're in trouble, activate this, heavy attack from underneath it. By the time it's over, you've got a full bar again. Failing that, if someone goes down, taunt the boss first, activate this second, res after. You can actually res from underneath this as long as you can time it right. It's an incredibly effective oh shit button, and I would definitely recommend anyone to put this on the front bar. Back bar, Extended Ritual. Restore and Light skill line, 4th ability to unlock, starts off as Cleansing Ritual, morph it to Extended Ritual. This will cleanse you of up to 5 harmful effects immediately just for activating it, so no dots on you. And of course, it will heal ally players inside of it every 2 seconds, and it lasts for 24 seconds. This is an incredibly long durated area effect, heal over time, and it has a synergy on it as well. So if anyone takes a synergy, they will cleanse and heal all at the same time. And note very carefully, this says the Purifying Synergy will cleanse all harmful effects. So if someone's got 10 dots on them and they're all cleansable, this will remove them all. Keep this down at all times. Not only is it a good heal over time for the group, but it's also very good for you, and it stacks with your Live and Dark if you're taking damage. So you've got 2 heal over times on you all the time. Templar tanks don't tend to benefit from burst heals. Breath of Life is not going to be that effective on you because you don't have the stats to push it. However, your heal over time generally are either built for max stats, which are quite nice. They're not massive, but they're good enough, or they're based on damage taken or max health. More on that in the next skill. Restore and Focus. This is in the same skill line, starts off as Rune Focus, morph it to Restore and Focus. Costs 826 stamina and lasts 20 seconds. During the 20-second period, you will recover 242 stamina every second. Every single second. So that is absolutely massive for maintaining your recovery while in combat, whether you are blocking or not. Even while blocking, you'll still get this bonus. It doesn't apply to your basic recovery, it applies on top. It's guaranteed resource gain. At the same time, you'll get major resolve, which will increase your resistances. And while standing in the rune, you'll heal every second based on the amount of maximum health that you have. It scales off of your health. So the higher your health bar, the bigger this heal is. So you've got a heal over time on the ground for you and the group, plus a cleanse for the group, plus a cleanse for you. Heal every half a second if you're taking direct damage, and stand in your rune focus, and you will constantly get healed as well. It is very hard to die. Pay attention to these, they're very important. You must get these as soon as possible, especially Repentance because it's nuts, and that again is a heal on top of that. Don't let these run out. Resistance, heal, and heal from damage taken. Keep those three active all the time while maintaining the taunt, and you're pretty much done. We do need a ranged taunt, of course. Any content in the game could have ranged targets. Some of them can't be pulled to you, and some of them are way out of range, except for the ranged taunt itself. So the pulls are generally 22 meters. This is 28. So go to the Undaunted skill line, unlock Inner Fire, morph it to Inner Rage. We've taken this one on purpose because we want to maintain our stand pool for blocking and taunting and stuff if you're using the stab. And we're not going to use this as much as other skills, but we are going to use it in situations where we are kind of stuck and have to pull or taunt stuff in that might be hitting the squishies. Bear in mind, I did go over this on a live stream recently about how to taunt stuff that is at range. There is a video for it in the How to Get Good series on my channel. Just go to the beginner section, it's all there. But essentially, if you've got a boss facing you, don't turn it around. Sidestep slightly out so you can see over its shoulder, range taunt around it, and then go back into position. If you never spin the boss, you never cause a problem. Range taunts are great for bringing that aggro to you, even if they're too far away for you to stab. So this is your, uh-oh, I can't reach it. Wait, I still can button. This also is very important. Silver Leash is your active pull ability. You will need this. First ability to unlock in the Fighters Guild skill line starts off as Silver Bolts, morph it to Silver Leash. Technically speaking, a Templar doesn't have a pull ability, but we have this now. If you activate it, the enemy will come to you and be stuck at your feet. They will be slower, so if they try and run away, they won't get too far. However, this does apply a hard stun. It doesn't necessarily stun them on the spot, but it does apply the same cooldown. So if you have time stopped them and stunned them, you can't then pull them because they're immune for a short period of time. And that's the biggest problem the Templar ever had. People thought they could alleviate the immobilization situation by stunning them with time stop. And you can, but you can't then pull afterwards because they won't stay. And you can't then put a time stop on top of them or before them because, again, the cooldown will overlap. This build has not got an issue with that. That will make sense when we get to the gear. We have alleviated that situation. But for the situations that do arise where you will have to pull stuff at range, we still need a pull. So this is there for that. Pull in long-ranged enemies if they can be pulled. Introspection is a bit of a meme, to be honest. This was here to help us in the previous update. Quite honestly, I don't think you need it. But I'm going to show you a little trick with this just in case you want it. So I do put it on the bar for two reasons. One for passives and two just in case shit hits the fan. Remember earlier I said if you heavy attack from underneath your block ulti, then you can regain resources and get back in the fight? Well, this also helps a little bit, but a bit more than your usual just heavy attacking. You might be taking loads of damage, you might have enough heals on the ground, or you might not. This caters for all areas of your recovery, because if you take this from meditate to introspection, you will actually meditate in the air, and you will gain health and stamina and magicka every 1 second that it's running. Maintaining the channel will increase the amount of health that you get back by up to 50% over the period of time. So it can get really, really dramatic. If you're not taking too much damage, just heavy attack underneath the shield. If you're taking loads, pop this. You'll have a benefit from your survival, that's in the passives later, and you'll constantly gain resources. Now we're going to show you the trick here as long as I've got ulti. This is what you need to do. Activate this, hit this, you're blocking while meditating and gaining all that recovery. Swap bars, carry on. That, in some situations, is absolutely broken. You can do that against bosses, big trash pulls, whatever you want. Just make sure that you've taunted the targets first. So if you have to, jump in, taunt everything, put on your block ulti, and then meditate from underneath it. everything's on you. You've got your block covered, your recovery's in, everything's done. If you do that on your own, you can be interrupted, of course, but the block ulti makes that a broken skill. So a very fun utility ability there for when you, or if you need it. Now, ultimate. Solar Disturbance is, of course, in a Dawn's Wrath skill line. Starts off as Nova, morph it to Solar Disturbance. You could morph it to the other one for a bigger synergy, but quite frankly, since you're the tank and you're supposed to be protecting the group, I favor this one because it applies major maim to all targets caught inside of it, reducing the damage they do by 10%, but it applies to them for 12 seconds. It applies to the targets for 12 seconds. It's on the ground for 10, but applies to them for 12, which means, yes, if they walk out of it, the debuff still persists. It's a very, very good oh shit button to give protection to the group. It applies a debuff to their damage, so you take less. Yes, that also stacks with major protection because that one is buffing your survival. This one is reducing their output. They're really, really strong together. This is a very good ulti. I would recommend it a lot. However, if you are trying to buff the damage of the group, or just give them a different type of protection, you can, of course, go with Barrier. Revive and Barrier is actually very, very good because it gives them a heal as well. Or you can go with Aggressive Warhorn to give your group major force and increase their stam and mag amount for 30 seconds, which is really, really handy. The major force only lasts 10, but the other buff does actually have a really high duration. So the choice is yours. Ultimate is really down to you and your group at the time, but whatever you want. I would always put Shield Discipline on the front just in case it happens, and it will. So, passives. Passives are very important, and then we're going to get into the gear, and I'm going to show you a demonstration so you understand how the hell this actually works. Because at the moment, it might be a little vague because I've told you an ability taunts when it doesn't. It does on this build, don't worry. So, skills. Passives, even. This is not massively important. This increases your critical damage by 10% if you crit, and increases your damage done to blocking targets. We're not really built for damage, but we do actually have some. So take it, it's there. This increases your survival, because if you activate an Adric Spear ability, you gain minor protection for 6 seconds, reducing all damage taken by 5%. All you need to do is hit this explosive charge button. We're going to do that a lot. This is covered. Just for jumping in, we get protection. And we're already capped resistances as well. When you deal damage with an Adric Spear ability, which we will do, 4 times in rapid succession, which we probably won't, you do extra damage to the target. Now, technically speaking, if you jump in with explosive charge, you can hit infinite amounts of targets, which means, yes, every 4 hits would give you that damage. So it is free damage. It's not game-changing, but it's free. Increases your weapon and spell damage by 6% and your physical and spell resistance by 1320. The spell resistance and the physical resistance is nice. We do cap out. And the weapon and spell damage does actually contribute to the strength of our heals as well. So we'll take it. Dawn's Wrath is very important for one thing above all, but the rest we'll take. This increases the duration of your Solar Flare, Eclipse, and Sunfire abilities and Nova. So this ability here is extended from this. Using the Dawn's Wrath ability, this is the important one. Dawn's Wrath as in Living Dark. If we activate that, we will get 3 ultimate back. Every 6 seconds, you'll get 3 ultimate back. You don't need to cast it every 6 seconds. We need to cast it every 12. But if you want extra ultimate and you can maintain it, why not? Casting a Dawn's Wrath ability gives your entire group minus sorcery, increasing their spell damage by 10%. Easy peasy. We need to use it every 12. If we're feeling flush, we can use it even quicker. We'll maintain this 100% of the time you're buffing the group. And reduces the cost of all of your stuff. Get it. This is important. Also, increases the healing effects from your Restoring Light abilities by up to 12% in proportion to the severity of the target's wounds. So, your abilities here, Repentance, Extended Ritual, and Rune Focus. Whoever is being healed by those, whether it's you or somebody else, the lower their health, the bigger the heal. While standing in your own Cleansing Ritual, Rune Focus, or Rite of Passage. That means this or this, basically, because we are using them both, and the original one for this is Cleansing Ritual, and this is Rune Focus. If you're standing inside of it for up to 4 seconds, and after leaving it, you will gain minor mending, increasing all healing done by 8%. So all of your heals are improved. If you leave the area, after 4 seconds, it will fall off. If you stay in the area, it will stay with you until it runs out. Also increases the amount of damage you can block during this duration. Fabulous. Block reduction to damage. Can't go wrong. Take it. When you heal an ally under 50% health with a Restoring Light ability, you grant them 2 ultimate. You are giving ultimate to the group by healing them with this or this when their health is low. Again, you're buffing the group. Also, while you're in channeled rite of passage, you will gain resistances. That is not that important because we're not using that. Plus, we're capped anyway. Increases resurrection speed by 20%. Block ulti, res, make sure the taunt is on already. Resurrected allies return with 100% more health. Yes, you come in with like 50% health. If you do this with a Templar, they have full bars. And it gives you a 50% chance to refill an empty soul gem. So you could use a gem to res someone, but then get one back anyway. This skill line is essential for this build. You give people ultimate, you heal them more, you give yourself block damage reduction and minor mending. It's bonkers. Get them all. We're using one weapon skill line, so the skills required for this build are minimal. Very simple stuff. You need 2 for this ultimate, you need 2 for this skill, so that's 4. Then you need 10 here for the passives. You need 14 skill points for this skill line, and you're done for both bars. Reduces the cost of your abilities from this skill line, and reduces the cost of blocking. This increases your weapon and spell damage for this skill line. Not massively important, but you do reduce the amount of damage you can block, or increase the amount of damage you can block even. Such a weird way to describe that. Basically, you get hit while blocking, you take less damage. Improves your standard bash attacks. Not massively important, but it does reduce the cost, and we will be bashing stuff to interrupt it. Increases the amount of damage you can take while blocking from projectiles, and makes you move faster while blocking. Bear in mind, while using the block ulti, there's no speed restrictions. While you are holding block actively, like you're controlling it, then you are slower. This will speed that up. We are using nothing but heavy armor. We want the passives. That's the reason. No, we don't want these. No, I don't want to take advantage of the full Undaunted passive because the extra stamina and magicka is not going to benefit me over the loss of the passives that we would lose from the 2 pieces here. Heavy armor bonuses and penalties do apply. Read those in your own time. They come with any heavy armor piece per piece. But we're using 7. This increases your physical and spell resistance per piece. 2.4k there. This increases your health recovery, 28% for having 7 pieces, and 757 back in all resources every time you get hit once every 4 seconds. So guaranteed, every 4 seconds on cooldown, if you get hit, you will get resources back. Increases your max health by 2% per piece worn. Yes, if you had the full Undaunted passive in a 5-1-1 system, you would get the same amount of health. You'd just gain an extra 4% mag and stam. We don't need the extra mag. We don't need the extra stam. So there's no point. We'll just lose resistances. We'll lose recovery. We'll lose resources back. We'll lose all these massive bonuses. There's no point. Increases your magicka and stamina you gain back from your heavy attack if you heavy attack with one of your weapons. And each piece increases it. So the more heavy pieces you have, the bigger the reward. We're using just physical weapons, so the only thing we'll get back is stamina, which is fine because our mag recovery is covered elsewhere. Increasing your healing received per piece. Bigger heals for us. From someone else or us. Now, we're not using any of those. Fighters Guild is important. You do want to get the cost down. 15% reduction to Fighters Guild ability cost. This is expensive as a pull, so get this passive as soon as possible. This is not massively important. It increases your weapon and spell damage for a Fighters Guild ability being on the bar. We only have it on the back bar, so we only get the bonus there. You can take it or leave it. This I would take if you pull something and you happen to be on this bar and something dies from you, you will get 3 ultimate back. It's going to be rare, but it can happen. Also, your Fighters Guild abilities do more damage. That's not massively important either, but if you want the extra damage, yeah, sure. These 2 here you can take or leave, and that's not important because that's Cyrodiil. This one here, Banish the Wicked and Intimidating Presence, you want those. Undaunted, of course, you do want these. This will give you resources back if you take a synergy. Any single synergy that you take in the game, will give you 4% resources back regardless of their benefit. Yes, they're all beneficial. There are, I would say countless, but that's extreme. There's like 25 or so synergies that you can take advantage of in the game that are beneficial from skills or sets or whatever. Every single one you take will give you this back. Keep taking them. Every synergy in the game has a 20-second cooldown for you after you've taken that specific one. You can still take a different one afterwards. So if there's 10 synergies in your group actively, you got 40% of your resources back just for taking them. You didn't even have to do anything. Also, increases your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per type of armor worn. We're wearing 1 type, so we'll take the 2%. If we change this to 1 light, 1 medium, again, we would lose 4% or 2 pieces worth of our heavy armor passives, and the alteration to this is not worth it. Take this. Assault and support is somewhat important. If you are using the support ability, you can, of course, take advantage of the recovery bonus, but that's only if you've got barrier on, which we won't have that often. And if we do, it'll only be on the back bar, but that's your choice. We are an Imperial. No, you're not restricted to race. Use what you bloody like. But this was very, very good. So this increases your maximum health by 2k. Biggest health bonus in the game. Gives a massive bonus to our healing spell because it does scale off of health. Higher the health, the better. This increases your max stam. Highest one in the game. Yes, a couple of other classes or races even do have the same amount, but that is still the highest regardless. And of course, reduces the cost of every single ability you have. Magicka, Stamina, or Ultimate, doesn't matter. 6% reduction to all. If you don't have Imperial, it's not the end of the world. Orc would actually be bloody good. Nord is no point because you'll overcap on resistances. But, again, the choice is yours. It's not the end of the world. But Imperial was solid, especially for your efficiency with your cost of your skills and ultis. Really simple. I've been over this a million times. If you've been watching the channel before. Medicinal use is important. Cap this out as quick as possible. There is a video on my channel for potions. It's even on the website. There's even a potion maker on my website, so you can figure out what you want to use. But max this out. You can get there in 2 minutes flat if you've got the resources. Again, there's a video for that. I calculate exactly how to do it in 2 minutes. Once you've done that, dump all your skill points, put 3 into here. Do what the hell you want with the rest of the skill points now. They're yours. Unless, of course, you want to actively make potions. Medicinal use is incredible. Your potions are going to be tripots. You'll get health, stamina, and magicka back, and health, magic, and stamina recovery. That recovery only lasts around 35-36 seconds, but the cooldown is 45. With this, you outrun the cooldown, so that buff is permanent. Activate the potion. When it comes back, activate it again. Never let your potions run out. They're consumable buffs that will stay with you forever as long as you maintain it. Now, the juicy stuff. This is where it will start to make sense. For those of you that are sitting on the edge of your seats and wondering how the fuck does this all work, because you said this was a taunt and it is not. You said this is a stun and pull and stun are the same thing. So where's the problem? Okay, we're going to fix that for you. Do not worry. So, we are using, we're going to go down a little bit here to skip ahead. We are using the Tormentor from Banished Cells. You can get this on normal, Banished Cells 1 or 2, doesn't matter. Every single set, by the way, every single set piece is in Sturdy because our resources, our resistances are covered. Health on everything as well. Max health. Heal and taken, heal and taken. So any heals that you do or somebody else gives to you, improved. And when you deal direct damage, as in an initial hit, whether it's area of effect or single, with a charge, leap, or teleport, or pull ability, you gain 3-6-4-2 physical and spell resistance, and taunt the enemy to attack you for 15 seconds if you use a direct charge ability. This ability here, I'll use a stupid dummy up here for this, is a direct damage charge ability. As you can see now, due to that giving me buffs and bonuses, my resistances are now capped out at 34.6. Way over cap. You only need 33. Because this gives you resistances when you jump in. It taunts the target when you jump in. However, although it is direct, this particular morph hits in area of effect. So all the enemies that get hit by this area of effect are all hit with a direct charge ability. And there is no cooldown. So with there being no cooldown, the targets are unlimited. So if I use this, watch above their heads, there'll be a red aura. Look at the buff timers. There's a shield, which is broken. Every single one of those is taunted because of that set and that skill. I gained resistance, and I taunted everything. Simple as that. And to show that it's uncapped, where most people do understand that anything with a debuff applies to 6 targets, all taunted. All 40 of them. All taunted. And if you have a charged ability, as you saw there, some of them were glowing blue. This does magic damage. You can apply minor magic still to pretty much everything on tap, especially if you spam it, because that is not going to take away the taunt. It just gives you full control, and it's fun. And that's without a potion running. Now, let's get back to the rest of the gear, because this is important, because it all lines up. What happens with our other set? Bear in mind, this needs to be on the body. Very simple to get. Banished Cells 1 or 2. So full body Tormentor, sturdy and healthy on everything. Simple as hell. One button to rule them all. Jump in, done. That one button has another perk, because we're using another set alongside of it, which comes from the Dread Cellar, which again you can get on normal. Don't stress yourself out in vet. There's no need. Time efficiency, go on normal. It's easy. Now, Sword and Board of Russian Agony. Yes, you may argue this is a medium set, but we're using it on Sword and Board and Jewelry, so no longer is it a medium set because we've changed the trait to Healthy. Magic Recovery on all three, and here is what it does. This will give you Stam Recovery, handy when your shield is down or when you're doing a block ulti. This will give you weapon and spell damage, handy towards our heals. Offensive penetration, meh, okay, we jump in, we do damage, we'll take it. And when you deal direct damage with a blink, charge, or teleport ability, or pull ability, we're going to get to that in a moment, enemies within 10 meters of you will all be pulled to you, and after 2 seconds, you will deal damage in area of effect, which is physical damage, which can, if you're using charge, along with Caltrops, apply minor maim, and it does. Not minor maim, sorry, minor breach. Now, this will do damage in area of effect by 7 meters, but will pull for 10. So 10 meters range, pull them all in, 7 meters range, pop. That's going to happen anyway. But that can happen once every 8 seconds. So every 8 seconds, you can pull in a whole group of enemies that are close to you. The trick is to go for the middle of the group, because you'll get the surrounding enemies within the radius. If you go at the front, you'll miss some at the back. If you go at the back, you'll miss some at the front. Time that charge, place it very carefully, you'll get more enemies. Just bear in mind, though, this is a debuff and does follow the rules of debuffs. This does technically pull 6 at a time, but the area of effect taunt, as you can see here, also has to consider the area of effect range of your skill. So while this may be a 10-meter pull, this is a 6-meter taunt. So sometimes you might pull them, but they might be at max range. You haven't got the taunt yet. So jump twice. Jump once for pull, jump twice for taunt. Most of the time, you only need to do it 1 time, but sometimes if it's a big, big pull, do it twice. You'll definitely get them all. Very, very simple. And here's the biggest tip for this skill. This pull ability attached to this set is the only one of its kind in the game. I don't care if you like the Sword and Board that pulls stuff in. I don't care if you like Convergence, Dark Convergence. All of those are hard stuns. This is not. Read it at the bottom. The pull will not apply crowd control immunity to the target. So, drop the bubble. Slowly, 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 pop. Everything's stunned, right? Before that pops, drop this, jump in, they're all pulled, bam, they're stuck. You have just managed to slow down the room to effectively feel like an almost immobilization ability, pull them all into you, taunt them all for you, and stun them all for you. You have full control. So when you go into a room, drop this first to get their attention so they start moving slowly towards you, and then jump straight in. That will be enough to pull them in and stun them. That's it. Very, very simple. Now, bear in mind, some things can't be pulled, of course, but that's not the end of the world. We're going to get to that in a moment. This pull, however, some people noticed this already. This one does apply a stun. Does need to be used sometimes to pull in strays. Look at the target. Notice the debuff? Read carefully. Charge, leap, teleport, or pull ability. That's right. If you pull or charge, you will taunt the target you hit. You have so much control, it is ridiculous. And again, this set here, teleport, leap, charge, pull ability. Yes, that also means that if you've got a stray out there somewhere and you pull it in, these will all get yanked to you because your agony set kicks in again. Whether you do this or this, you will actively pull in and taunt the group. Bonkers and so easy to control. Now we're going to go over the monster set before we go on to the other setup for those of you that are in situations where things cannot be pulled. We are using the Magma Incarnate's Heavy Helmet and Shoulders. This is from Dread Cellar. This does require veteran difficulty, but you can use other monster sets if you prefer. This will give you mag recovery and stam recovery, and if you heal yourself or a group member with a single target heal, i.e. this, as long as you're in combat, let's go hit them. You're in combat, pop this, done. As you can see here, we have the buff. Minor courage to you and your group, up to 4 members. The lowest heal or the lowest health person will receive this. Usually it will come from you because it's an insta heal for yourself, a single heal, but it can come up from other people taking the synergy from your extended ritual. But when this applies, you will get weapon and spell damage increase, and you'll get a minor resistance buff, minor courage, and minor resolve. As long as you're in a 4-man situation, you'll all have this pretty much all the time. However, if you're in a trial situation, it is limited to how many people it will reach, but still very effective. If you are in a trial a lot and you don't need this with you, you can swap to other stuff. So you could go with, where's it gone? Vicosa, which is very, very cool. This is from Moonhunter Keep. And all you need to do, basically, is if a target is taunted, you bash them. If you do that, you'll afflict them with major cowardice, removing 430 weapon and spell damage. Basically, they hit really, really weak in comparison to what they normally do. And alongside your Nova and other buffs and bonuses in the group, that can be quite a difference. So that's a good choice if you want to. This one also is quite fun, but you have to heavy attack in order to achieve this. If you do heavy attack, big wind gust, loads of people have their reduction to cost applied, which is absolutely bonkers, and yes, it applies to you too. The other setup, I will call this the trial setup. If you're in a trial where enemies can be pulled, keep to this setup, it's absolutely fine. You don't need to change anything. It will perform perfectly. However, if you're in a trial where all the enemies cannot be pulled, then you might want to switch this out. Or maybe a particular fight where enemies can't be pulled. Switch this out to this. Now this setup is bonkers too. You keep the Tormentor on at all times. You still jump in, you still area of effect taunt with your leaps or your taunts, or your pulls even. They will still do that. Even if you apply a pull by accident or a range taunt or anything like that, you apply a pull, even if it can't be pulled, it will still count as a taunt. So just bear in mind that has to stay on the set, or the build. You want Baron. This will give you stamina, magicka, and health, but every time you apply a status effect, every time, you will stack up to 1 stack, to a maximum of 3 over 10 seconds. 3 stacks will give you 4 ultimate. There's no cooldown on how quickly you can get those stacks. So, you can effectively get this every 1 second, which basically doubles our ultimate regen, and some. So, there is a 1 second cooldown, but it's 4, 1 second, 4, 1 second. It's every second if you build like this. Tormentor and Baron are still there, but you have to change your sword and board and your jewelry to Unleashed Terror. Why do you want to use this? This is from Castle Thorn, by the way. Weapon and spell damage, that's for our heals. Stamina for blocking, stamina for blocking. Great, it's a medium set, we'll put it on the weapon and jewelry. That way it doesn't make any difference, healthy on everything, mag recovery just like before. When you deal direct damage with a blink, charge, leap, or teleport, or pull ability, so yes, your ranged pull if you accidentally press it, or your charge, you will hit the enemy, causing them to bleed for 10 seconds, dealing bleed damage over time. Why do we want damage? We don't really care about damage, do we? Read carefully. Every single tick guarantees a hemorrhage status effect. So if they can be mangled, which reduces their health percentage by 10%, every enemy hit with this will have that on them. If they are hit, every single enemy will have hemorrhage. So all you need is 3 enemies. Jump in with a charge, hemorrhage will pop every single second on all 3. Ultimate will build every single second on all 3. Now, there is an effect that hits my character, kind of like a dark lightning effect and a sound. That is when you know that my ultimate regen has kicked in. That will do it all the time on the Baron. Just track this. 1, 2, 3. Listen, you can hear it. 4. But it's ticking all day long. Every single one of them has got hemorrhage on it, and then you apply it again. And you just maintain it. Alongside your everyday ultimate regen, which I'm now going to start applying for that light attack there, and Dawn's Wrath, your ultimate regen is bonkers. You're playing exactly the same, but you generate an ulti much, much faster. That will benefit your group, because then you can fire Warhorns off all day. Even if you do stuff like this in a big ad pull, absolutely nuts. Hemorrhage is on all the targets. That is stupid. Mangle in area of effect, taunt in area of effect, ulti regen for days. Again, remember that you must light attack or use a weapon ability in order to take advantage of your general regen, but also on top of that you get this. Just bear in mind, of course, by the way, you don't have to spam light attacks. You just have to make sure that you do one, or use weapon ability or whatever, or block or take damage every 8 seconds. Also, the weapons are decisive now instead of powered. The reason they were powered before is for the extra survival, but now we want decisive because we're building for ulti. So let's just give a quick idea of how fast this can be. So we'll make sure we're in combat, and we'll get that running. Not really doing a lot here, just flying tank stuff. At the moment, as you can see, my block ulti just ran out, and we're halfway through a block ulti already. Make sure you use your Dawn's Wrath ability once every 6 seconds, since we can maintain it. That's basically it. Block ulti in no time. Now, if you're in an active situation with lots of buffs and bonuses, and you're picking up synergies and all that kind of stuff, this could also be a Warhorn every sort of 30 seconds to 40 seconds to 45, something like that. Sometimes a bit quicker, depending on the situation. Again, other things in your group could alter that, especially since there's sets for ulti regen. You could end up having Warhorns on cooldown. It's very, very effective. So one setup is for everyday use if you're going to pull stuff at the same time as AoE taunting them, and the other setup is if you're in a trial situation and nothing can be pulled. Also bear in mind, in Black Rose Prison, the round with the squid, round 2 and 4, the squid can be pulled. They're not supposed to be. So that is slightly broken at the moment. You might want to use this setup for that particular round. Anyway, champion points. So the important stuff, again, very simple. These white or yellow ones are passives. Unlock them at your own leisure. Just make sure that you get them eventually. Any class, any race, any role, doesn't matter what you are, everyone can get these. They are passive. The same applies to these, but just bear in mind they do apply extra status chance. The ones you want really is the unlockables. So you want to make sure you get all this stuff, which is nice, along the way. But above all, unlock this by putting 10 points into here. Then once you've got that, these 3 will unlock. You can use this if you want to in situations, but you don't have to. This and this here, Duelist Rebuff and Enduring Resolve alongside Ironclad will give you that nice damage mitigation bonus. And of course, there's one more, which is quite heavily overlooked. Whenever you remove a harmful effect from yourself or an ally, which you will apply your cleanse ability, or they will take a synergy. Every 10 seconds, whichever order this is in, from them or you will do an area of effect heal in 8-meter radius. So you'll have the heal on the ground, you'll apply the cleanse, but you'll also do a burst heal. Yes, that can crit as well. Doesn't look too substantial on paper, but when you start critting that stuff alongside everything that you've already got, it's a lifesaver for your group and you. Very, very important indeed. It actively just slots in with the way that you're playing. So definitely get that as soon as possible. In order to unlock this, by the way, you need 10 here. So the 4 slottables there are the most important things, the rest in your own time. This here, I haven't even slotted some of this stuff. Why did I miss that? Oh, never mind. This is supposed to be in here. So that can go back in there. You've got 2 options here. You can have Strategic Reserve, which gives you health recovery depending on how much ultimate you have. And if you're saving ultimate, you've got a crap ton of health recovery. Or you can use this here, which is Spirit Mastery, which makes you res much, much faster. If you're in a situation where you're going to block ulti all day long and you're going to constantly be resing people because they're struggling or they're new to the content, you can res incredibly fast as long as you maintain a taunt on the boss. This, though, absolutely bonkers. We're going to go check this real quick just so you can see it. You saw earlier that our health recovery was quite high. If we do maintain 500 ultimate, or even any ultimate at any point in time, your survival is out the nose. As you can see here, health recovery is now sitting on a whopping 3.2k. That passively slotted ultimate usage CP node there, so kind of making use of something you're not using, can get dramatic. Anyway, back to that, we're going to show you what these are. You want to make sure you unlock this first, so 10 in here, 15 in here, 10 in here, or max that out. Unlock that, fill it up. Any ultimate you've got will give you health recovery. If you've got a little amount or a large amount, doesn't matter, it's still beneficial. And then these 3 that require no prerequisites at all. Max health, max armor, max recovery. You can't go wrong. Easy to slot, easy to get. Your choice as to whether you get them or not, but I would recommend them. This green tree is irrelevant. There are some nice bonuses in here. You can get this to reduce the chance of just burning through charges. You can get this for Treasure Hunter that I do recommend, so you can get more loot from chests. And I do recommend stuff like this, which is increasing your movement speed between fights. Obviously, you're the tank. You want to be up front. You've got to get from one fight to the next quite quickly. That doesn't cost anything in the meantime to unlock. And stuff like this. Liquid efficiency and rationer, longer food duration, possibilities to not use potions. Any of these are all your choice because they don't directly reflect content or combat even, but those are the ones that I would slot if you had to. So the speed bonus here, less potions used, longer food duration, and the treasure hunter. I would recommend those, but you don't have to have any at all because none of them will make you a better or weaker tank. I assume you want to know what fashion we're using. Let's go look at that. So, slightly different to before. We are using the Annihilarch's Chosen hat. You saw that coming anyway because it's mega. And of course the Annihilarch's Chosen... No, it's not. It's the other one. It's a special dude. Where's he gone? I can never say this. Kinreeve Curious. There you go. That's a heavy, but that's a unique signature one. That's a special one at the bottom there. So go right down the bottom and find that. Ebonheart Pauldrons. Sorry, Reds. I wasn't giving you any favoritism. I'm actually AD, but the shoulders are cool, so you can have that. Annihilarch's Chosen Medium Hands. Dramathra's Sash in light, obviously. Fire Drake Greaves. You get that from Battlegrounds. And, of course, Thorn Legion Feats. Why not? Now, the baseball bat there is a Trinimac Mace, and the shield is awesome. Fargrave Guardian Shield. Look at that. It's got an actual ninja star on it. Seeing as my brand label does actually have an official Xynode Gamer ninja star, it was fitting to put a star on it. That's kind of cool. Although the shield's a little bit small. The back weapons don't really matter. I've gone Buoyant Armiger just to split it up. It's not necessarily for fashion purposes. It's just to differentiate between each bar, just in case you're not looking at your skills. But again, the choice is yours. Generally speaking, most of the colors are black, although we have mixed in some Daedric red in there just to kind of fill the gaps. That is technically it, but you have to be aware of how this works. It's no difficult than any other tank. In fact, it's 10 times easier in most respects, but you do have to keep up some basic things. Keep up your ritual all the time. Pay attention to your passives. Keep up your rune focus to maintain your resistance bonus, and stand in it if you want heals. If you block, by the way, I didn't go over the Sigic Order passives. We'll quickly nip over this. If you block with a Sigic Order skill on your bar, you will gain a damage shield, which is very, very helpful. So bear that in mind. That's what the bubble is. Once it's gone, you get 10 seconds. You can do it again. And, of course, maintain your Living Dark. If this is running, and this is running, you just need a taunt, which is that. It will pull stuff in, it will taunt stuff in. But, time stop first, taunt second. Any room, even this one up here, if you want to pull all those adds, hit that to slow them down, jump in to finish them off. If you have to turn them around, turn them around. Trick to that, by the way. Jump in, dodge roll through, spin. They'll all spin on you. Remember, I can't make this clear enough. This and this needs to be active. Time stop first, jump second. If the targets are pulled from long range, you might want to jump twice just to make sure the taunt is definitely applied, because it's a shorter range taunt than it is a pull. And finally, of course, if you're aiming for a big group of enemies, don't aim for the front one, don't aim for the back one. You have a limited radius, so go straight for the middle, and you'll get them all. And if the target is huge, you're looking at the radius from outside the boss's hitbox, not you. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully that was somewhat easy to understand. It's a lot easier to use than it is to grasp the intricacies of the build. The hard stuff is done for you. Just bear in mind, of course, it might take you a little bit of practice to get used to, because it's very different to most tanks. You can AoE taunt, you can AoE pull, you can AoE CC and slow and all that kind of stuff, and you are incredibly hard to kill if you maintain your basic buffs and bonuses. So, thank you very much for watching. If you're not subscribing already, please, of course, do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website XynodeGaming.com, where all the written guides are, including this one, and countless articles constantly going up every single week, as well as a giveaway page where free stuff is given out all the time. Keep an eye on that, because sometimes I don't announce it. Again, there's a thanks button at the bottom if you want to help donate towards the channel, and there's loads of other stuff you can find. Just Google Xynode. I'm sure you'll find something. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.